Brajera Kala Gopa Vrindapalo Chita Hari Vampita Hari Yogendra Bandhana Srinandana Vrajajana Baya Hari Nabina Radha Rupa Manohara Mohana Vanti Bihari Yashodanandana Samsami Sudana Nikonjara Javinati Kadambakana Raja Parayana Vindyavitina Nivasi Ananda Pardana Premani Chaitanya Kulasharayo Jagadmana Gopangana Ganatita Vinodana Samata Gunagana Yamuna Jivana Akili Hadayana Manasatandra Takohara Mashudada O Krishnaya Ako Bhajnamanam Mohora Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopikana Ballabha Giridhari Gopikana Ballabha Yashodanandana Prajajanandana Yashodanandana Prajajanandana Yamuna Shira Yamuna Shira Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Yashodanandana Praja Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter number 12, text number 33. Sa itam granata putran Purodrisva prajapatin Prajapati patistanyam Tatyaja vriditastadha Tam disho jagrihur goram Niharam yad vidastamha Saitam grinata putran Purodrisva prajapatin Prajapati Patistanvan Tatyaja Vriditastadha Tam Disho Jagrihur Goram Niharam Yadvidasthama. Chant.
Shayidam Grinata Putran Guru Drishva Prajapatin Prajapati Patistanvam Satyaja Vidita Sada Tam Disho Jagrahur Goram Niharam Yadvidustamaha Sahitam Grinata Putra Drishva Prajapati Prajapati Patistanvam Tatyaja Viditastada Tam Disho Jagrihur Goram Niharam Yadvidustamaha Sahitam Grinata Putran Guru Drishva Prajapati Prajapati Patistanvam Tatyaja Viditastada Tam Disho Jagrihur Goram Niharam Yadvidustamaha
Sahitam Grinata Putran Guru Drishva Prajapati Prajapati Patistanvam Tatyaja Viditastada Tam Disho Jagrihur Goram Niharam Yadvidustamaha Sahitam Grinata Putran Guru Drishva Prajapati Prajapati Patistanvam Tatyaja Viditastada Tam Disho Jagrihur Goram Niharam Yadvidustamaha
Sa He Brahma Itam thus Grinata speaking Putran sons Pura before Dristva seeing Prajapatin all the progenitors of living entities. Prajapati Pati, the father of them, Brahma. Tanvam, body. Tatyaja, quit. Vridita, ashamed. Tada, at that time. Tam, that body. Disha, all directions. Jagrihu, accepted. Goram, blamable. Niharam, fog. Yat, which. Vidu, they know as. Tama, darkness. Translation. The father of all Prajapatis, Brahma, thus seeing all his Prajapati's son, speaking in that way, became very much ashamed and at once gave up the body he had accepted. Later, that body appeared in all directions as a dangerous fog in darkness. Right? You can repeat. The father of all Prajapatis, Brahma, thus seeing all his Prajapati sons, speaking in that way, became very much ashamed and at once gave up the body he had accepted. Later, that body appeared in all directions as a dangerous fog in darkness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The best way to compensate for one's sinful acts is to give up one's body at once. And Brahma, the leader of the living entities, showed this by his personal example. Brahma has a fabulous duration of life, but he was obliged to give up his body due to his grievous sin, even though he had merely contemplated it in his mind without having actually done it. This is a lesson for the living entities, showing how sinful an act it is to indulge in unrestricted sex life. Even to think of abominable sex life is sinful, and to compensate for such acts, one has to give up his body. In other words, one's duration of life, blessings, opulence, etc., are decreased by sinful acts, and the most dangerous type of sinful act is unrestricted sex. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life, or sinful life is the cause of gross ignorance. The feature of ignorance is darkness or fog. Darkness or fog still covers the whole universe, and the sun is the only counteracting principle. One who takes shelter of the Lord, the perpetual light, has no fear of being annihilated in the darkness of fog or ignorance. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nitamscha. Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're hearing about the creations of Brahma. And so it began with the creation of the Kumaras. Well, actually, even before the creation of the Kumaras, Brahma created different ignorances. And then he created the four Kumaras. And the four Kumaras were also not very pleasing to Brahma, because Lord Brahma desired that they would help him in procreating the universe. But of course, the four Kumaras had other things in mind, and they were not interested. So Lord Brahma had to accept that. And then he created Rudra, and Rudra expanded, and there was more problems. So now we're hearing about the problem he got when he created a daughter, that he was attracted, he became attracted by his own daughter. So the sons of Brahma, the Prajapatis, seeing their father lusty after his own daughter, they were shocked and they expressed their disapproval to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma has come to his senses, hearing the words of the Prajapatis. Lord Brahma himself, he is the chief Prajapati. Now Prajapatis, they're very senior in the universe. They have a very big position and they have to be respected. Lord Brahma, he was the chief of the Prajapatis, and he was behaving in this manner which was unacceptable. And he came to his senses and realized what was happening, and he felt ashamed. So that was good, that he felt ashamed. And then Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that the proper way to atone for that is to give up the body. And Lord Brahma, of course, he did that. He gave up that body. Subtle body. Gave up the subtle body. So higher planets, beings on the higher planets, they have subtle bodies. Their bodies are not so gross as we have our body. You know, we are earthly creatures. So our bodies, a lot of water and earth. But on the higher planets, going up, Lord Brahma is way up at the top of the universe, Satya Loka, way up at the very top of the universe. So his body is very subtle. Anyway, he gave up the body, and Srila Prabhupada talks about how sinful it is to engage in illicit sexual activity. And of course, this is one of the regulative principles which we have at the time of being initiated into Krishna consciousness. We take a vow to follow four principles. And these four principles, they're coming from Shastra. It's not just something which is made up, but they're actually stated there in the Shastra, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that the symbol of religion is the bull, and the bull stands on four legs. Satyam, Socham, Daya, Tapa. Right? The four pillars of Dharma. Dharma is the bull, and he's standing on, meant to stand on 4 legs, the 4 legs symbolizing the 4 pillars, Satyam, Socham, Daya, Tapa. And so, Socham, cleanliness, is destroyed by the illicit connection with the opposite sex. Cleanliness is, we say cleanliness is next to godliness, right? We give a lot of importance to cleanliness. Brahmacharis should take bath once a day. Grihastas take bath twice a day. Sannyasis meant to bathe 3 times a day. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would bathe 3 times a day in the sea at Puri. He would go every day bathing in the sea at Puri. So cleanliness, very important, and cleanliness is not only external, but internal also. Externally, we wash the cloth. Every day we like to change the cloth. Every day have clean cloth. That's one, for people at least worshipping the deity, it's important. And cleanliness is also internal, purifying our heart. We clean the heart. And we clean the heart by the chanting of the holy names, by associating with the holy names of the Lord. Lord Krishna is antiseptic and is prophylactic. And so he can cleanse the heart. If we will associate with Lord Krishna, chanting his holy name, then certainly it will clean the heart, take out all the contamination. We know how thorough Lord Chaitanya was in cleaning the Gundicha temple, Gundicha Marjanam. Did you also do Gundicha Marjanam before Rath Yatra? You know, they have that festival, it's supposed to be observed. You have to clean the temple very thoroughly. And Lord Chaitanya brought all the devotees with him. They all came and they brought pots and brooms, and they all came to clean. And they brought the water from the lake nearby. There was one sarova there, and they brought all the water, and the water was flowing like a river in the Gundicha temple. And they didn't just wash the floor, they washed the ceiling. Could you imagine it? They washed the ceiling and all the water everywhere. They removed all the dust and the grains and the sand. Everything was cleaned very thoroughly. Mahaprabhu even took off his utariya and began to clean with his own cloth. And he would praise everyone who had collected a lot of dust. He would say, "You have done so well." In this way, he would encourage the devotees in the cleaning of the Gundicha temple. And the Gundicha temple symbolizes our own heart. We have to also thoroughly clean the heart to remove all the sinful desires which are there. And as we hear today in this verse, Lord Brahma didn't actually do anything wrong. His sin was subtle, was on the subtle platform. He thought about it, and that was sinful enough for him to give up his own body. So we see how strict Lord Chaitanya was with Junior Haridas. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it describes about Junior Haridas, who was an associate of Mahaprabhu, and how Lord Chaitanya rejected him because he'd gone to some woman begging some rice. Lord Chaitanya, where did this rice come from? Lord Chaitanya, and they said, oh, Junior Haridas brought it. He got it from Madhavi Mata. And Lord Chaitanya said, oh. And then later on he told, don't let that Junior Haridas come again. I don't want to see his face. And Lord Chaitanya said he broke the regulative principles of the renounced order of life. And everyone begged Lord Chaitanya to please forgive him, please accept him. But Lord Chaitanya said, no, I cannot. Lord Chaitanya wanted this example to be set in the renounced order of life, that they have to observe very strictly certain principles. And so Lord Chaitanya rejected Junior Haridas. And then later on, because Junior Haridas could not again come in the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to Trivedi, he went to the Sangam, the Trivedi, and he gave up his body there. And when Lord Chaitanya heard, he said, yes, this is proper. He said, this was the proper thing to do. So, this was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was so strict sometimes. He could be soft as a rose, but sometimes he could be like a thunderbolt, so strict. So anyway, the principle is there, that regulative principle, that no illicit connection with the opposite sex, that destroys the principle of cleanliness. And this is a primary principle in practice of Krishna consciousness. As Srila Prabhupada describes in the purport that sinful activities caused by ignorance, or you could say ignorance is the cause of sin. If you study the nectar of devotion, in Srila Prabhupada's nectar of devotion, Srila Prabhupada also discusses about suffering. Why do people suffer? Suffering is caused by ignorance. And ignorance causes sin. Because of ignorance, people have sinful desires. Sinful desires lead to sinful activities, which leads to suffering. So this is how it's explained in Nectar of Devotion. Here, we're hearing how even subtle offense, so just simply desiring sinful activity, is the cause of suffering. How careful we have to be to control the mind, to control the restless mind, because the nature of the material world, there's so much agitation of the senses, so much propaganda. You know, you open everybody has a mobile phone, and you open your mobile phone and they will send you something, and you know, nowadays they have all of these flicks, there's Netflix, and little short movies are there, and a lot of it is stuff which is not very suitable for devotees to look at. It's not very good for our consciousness. You take a risk every time you open your mobile, especially if you go to look at these kind of messages. Now, we have to be very careful controlling the mind, because everywhere there's so much propaganda. They're encouraging people, right? The media, they want to agitate the senses of the common people. They want to inspire the common people, to encourage them in their sinful life. Because if people don't engage in sinful activities, a lot of business will be lost, right? All the bars would close. Oh, that would be a big problem for some breweries, you know. All the liquor stores would be affected. Now they encourage more and more sinful activities. In some parts of the world now, they've allowed marijuana to be legal. You can go to Thailand, and places in Thailand, they're selling it everywhere there. And people are all, they're into their drugs, their marijuana, smoking. And even in America, some states in America, they've legalized marijuana. So this is the business, just like in the past, alcohol used to be illegal. But now, of course, everywhere they sell alcohol, so common. So the modern society is making use of the ignorance of common people to encourage them in their sinful life, to encourage them in more and more sinful activities. And they make all kinds of arrangements for people's sinful activities. And because it's a big business, they make money from it. Their income is coming from the sins of people. And the common people, they don't realize that their sinful activities are going to bring them suffering. Nobody's thinking, they're thinking they will be happy. And people are thinking they will be happy. I was in Taiwan, and there was this shopping area, and they had they'd put all over the walls, they'd put everywhere, and put, being sober is so boring. And they'd put this many times, bombarded on all the wall, you know, being sober is so boring. In other words, you know, they're saying, you should get drunk. You should drink, and you know, they're telling you you're going to be happy. If you're sober, you will be bored. They make this kind of propaganda that you can't be happy, you're going to be bored unless you drink, unless you take drugs, unless you do sinful activities. People are looking for pleasure, and they're looking in all the sinful ways for pleasure. Now, it's not wrong to want pleasure. It's the nature of the soul to enjoy. The nature of the soul, Anandamaya Bayasat. Our soul is meant, by nature, it is joyful. So we want pleasure, and that's not wrong, it's natural. But there is the higher pleasure, right? Not the pleasure of the hogs and the dogs. So Lord Rishabdev told his 100 sons, very important verse, which Prabhupada often lectured on. Nayam deho dehabajam niraloke kushtam kamarnahate vidbujam ye tejodivyam putrakayena sattvam shadayad yasmad brahmashokyam tvanantam. Lord Rishabdev, incarnation of God, and he had 100 sons, glorious sons, right? Oldest was Bharat Maharaj. Then there was the 9 Yogendras. That's a good start, isn't it? You've got sons like that. And then there were 9 other sons became rulers, and all the other sons were brahmanas. So anyway, Lord Rishabdev, before he retired, did enter into the forest to accept Vanaprastha, which was very good example. You see, everywhere you see examples are being set. Lord Brahma although he did something wrong, he set the example. He gave up his body. He showed the example for it. And the same way, Lord Rishabdev, he's retiring from the world. But he's showing the example to his sons before he goes into the forest, he tells his sons that don't try to enjoy sense gratification, which is there for animals like the hog and the dog, animals which eat stool. There's the pleasure of the stool-eating animals. So that pleasure, that is not for cultured people, civilized people. We don't want to enjoy like the hogs and the dogs. But he said, do austerity, voluntarily undergo some restraint of the senses, control the mind and senses, do some tapasya, austerity, and in this way become purified, and then you can go on and experience real pleasure. So this is the principle of human life. You want to enjoy, you can enjoy, but you have to, don't enjoy like the lower animals. There's a higher pleasure. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also speaks about this. Vishaya vinivartante niraharashadehnam rasavajam rasopyasya param dristva navartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, but the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such pleasure by experiencing a higher taste, one is fixed in consciousness. So we can experience the higher taste. We want to come to that mood, that level, that we are feeling the higher taste. And that higher taste is there by engaging in devotional service, particularly in chanting the holy name. In Kirtan, Lord Chaitanya therefore propagated Harinam Sankirtan, which is very powerful in the age of Kali. Actually, we say in Kali Yuga, there's no other way. There's no other way but the holy name. Harinam, Harinam, Eva Kevala. It's the holy name. That is where the real nectar is. And from Harinam, we will develop more taste for hearing about Krishna. We will go on to relish the Srimad Bhagavatam, discussing the topics of Lord Krishna with the devotees. So we want to get that higher taste. That is very important. And when we have that higher taste, then there will be no question of these sinful activities. The attraction for sense enjoyment, it will not be there. Yamunacharya describes, right? Yamunacharya, before, initially he had been a worldly person. He was a king, and he was enjoying heavenly pleasures, royal pleasures. You know, in the palace of the king, there would be so many fair ladies around, and there would be a lot of opportunity for sensual pleasures. But then Yamunacharya renounced everything, and he became a great devotee. And he described how he developed that taste. Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padaravande nava nava rasa tamunya rantamati. Yamunacharya said, since I've become a devotee, experiencing more and more pleasure in the service of the Lord, he said, whenever I think of my past and I think of these things, my lips curl with this taste, and I spit at the thought. He spits at the thought. He doesn't spit at the people. He spits at the thought which came in his mind. We want to understand he had developed the higher taste. And Srila Prabhupada also spoke about these things, how devotees, how before even coming to Krishna consciousness, maybe before coming to Krishna consciousness, they had engaged in sinful activities. But after coming to Krishna consciousness, they didn't have no more interest in these things. That even though the opportunity comes, they have no interest. It becomes insignificant, no interest. Srila Prabhupada described himself. He was walking in the street and he met an old friend. He met someone from his school days. And the man said to him, he said, you know, I'm going to the cinema. Why don't you come with me? And Prabhupada looked at him and said, I won't come with you to the cinema even if you give me $1,000. So, you know, that is the mood of the devotee, that we're not interested. The opportunity is there, but you're not interested. B.B. Govinda Maharaj was describing, he was writing in what he was describing, he said he was on a flight, and somehow this stewardess in the flight, she was very attracted to him, you know, and she was very attracted to Govinda Maharaj, and she was saying to her, why don't we go somewhere? Why don't we come? You can come with me, you know, I have a place, you can come. You know, and Maharaj he was just looking at her, because he wasn't dressed in devotee clothes, because sometimes you have to wear karmic clothes. Some countries we travel into, you have to disguise yourself. So it's always risky, these things. So Govinda Maharaj described how this woman was after him, and you know, and he was just looking at. He said, "Oh, I don't do these things. I don't do these things anymore." You know. And she was like, you know, she was surprised. But these things happen. You know, you have to always be on guard. So we have to always be Krishna conscious. It's dangerous in the material world. These dangers are there everywhere. Wherever you go, the opportunity for sense gratification is there. And we want to be fixed in Krishna consciousness, that we have the higher pleasure. We're tasting something better than what is being offered in the streets to the common people. Right? We have something which we don't want to give up. Prabhupada writes, a devotee of Krishna will always be very careful to strictly follow the regulative principles, because he knows that if he goes away from the regulative principles, then it will bring so many problems to him. Right? Sinful life will lead to suffering. So certainly we don't take it would be very foolish to think, oh well, I will just chant Hare Krishna to counteract the sins. That is very bad. That's a very big offense. To think that, you know, I will chant and overcome I'll do more sins and I'll just chant to make up for it. So sometimes people have that misunderstanding that they can do like that, but that kind of chanting is certainly very bad. It's offensive. You're not going to get away from the suffering, from the reactions. So anyway, the point is, you have to be very careful, because material world, We say padam padam tad vipadam natesham. There's danger in every step. So you have to always fix our mind on Krishna. And our sadhana is very important. The morning program, every day we have to have that regulation to wake up early in the morning and to chant the Maha Mantra faithfully and do our rounds and then read Srimad Bhagavatam, hear some scriptural knowledge, worship the deity. We want to be cautious also about what we eat and where we eat. Taking food here and everywhere, it's risky. We can also get contamination that way. They say disease comes from the mouth. What you put in the mouth can make you sick. So you be very careful. Try to get prasada. Be careful where you go to eat. If you have to eat outside, you don't want to make a habit of it, of regularly eating outside. It's much better. Arrange your own food. Rupa Raghunath Prabhu was telling me how everyone in his family, and he has 3 children, and they all pack their lunch. None of them eat outside. They cook at home and they take to school or work or college. They take with them and they be very careful because we get affected. You eat food cooked by non-devotees, it affects our consciousness. And when the consciousness becomes covered, just like it's described here about the fog comes, it covers our Krishna consciousness. And we forget Krishna. And when we forget Krishna, then we're in Maya. Either we're with Krishna or we're with Maya. There's nothing in between. And so as soon as Krishna is covered, as soon as the sun is covered, the Maya is there. And Maya becomes attractive. And we think there's some pleasure there. Of course, some pleasure is there, but it's very temporary pleasure. And it leads to suffering. So devotees want to be very careful to avoid these things, to avoid sinful activities. Right? That's a hallmark of a devotee, that he will be very careful to avoid all kinds of sinful activities. So Lord Chaitanya was even concerned about taking money from materialistic people. Lord Chaitanya was so strict. He wouldn't even meet the king, right? He didn't want to meet Maharaj Prataparudra, that he's a materialistic king. I'm a sannyasi. I cannot meet such a materialist. And when Kamalakanta Vishwasa wrote a letter saying Advaita Acharya is in debt 300 rupees, he was asking, the king to pay the debt for him. So Lord Chaitanya was upset. He said, this is very bad. Advaita Acharya is God. The note said, Kamalakanta Vishwasa wrote a note, said, Advaita Acharya is God, but he's in debt 300 rupees. And so Lord Chaitanya is very good. He knows Advaita Acharya is God. He is God. But it's very bad. He said he's in debt 300 rupees. This is an offense. And Lord Chaitanya, although at first he rejected Kamalakanta Vishwasa, but then Advaita Acharya appealed and he got him forgiven. And then Lord Chaitanya instructed that devotees must be very careful never to take money from materialistic people. You become affected by that. It can be affected by that. Devotee have to be very careful. We're very cautious. When we accept money from people, we will use it for Krishna. We will not use it for our own self. And similarly with food, you have to be very careful where we go, what food we eat. You eat things like, if you get bread, maybe you buy bread or cakes or things from a shop made by non-devotees. It's not very good. We need to have our own supply. In Hong Kong, our temple in Hong Kong, we make bread for the devotees. All the devotees get their bread from the temple. Because bread, often cooked by non-devotees. You buy bread from some shop. Not prasadam, not very good. We like to have things made by devotees. The important ingredient is love and devotion. And you have to get that from the devotees. So we're very cautious. The life of a devotee is like, we have to be very cautious everywhere. Constantly remembering Krishna. And we get that strength by having a good sadhana every day. We have to chant the holy name very carefully, very seriously. Hear about Krishna, associate with Krishna, and associate with devotees as often as possible also. Very important. So these are some points. I wanted to stop here if there's any questions.
Maharaj, this verse is very confusing. It says Brahma himself is laying out his life, and we are told that every day we do Tulsi Puja. He says we do Tulsi Puja, we circumvent Tulsi, and he says all our sins are washed away. So it's really confusing that to give up right for such petty things as and I've been told that most of the religions, they don't allow suicide to be committed.
They don't what?
Allow suicide. So then why are we praying to see Buddha every day and second day and saying that all our things are being washed away?
Well, you have to understand the position of Brahma, that he's not a common man. He's a very important person in the universe. He has a very topmost position in the universe. So his example is very important. Now for the common man, the ordinary person, okay, yani kani champapani. You can get freed from the sins by circumambulating Tulsi. But if you're Lord Brahma, if you're like that, you're in a very big position, very responsible position, then it's not acceptable. You see, what is there for the common man, it's not there for the leaders of the society. The leaders of society have to be exemplary. They have to set the standard for others. And if they don't set the right standard, then everybody will go, everybody will be killing brahmanas. You know what you're saying? Oh, we can just circumambulate Tulsi. All the brahmanas will be slaughtered very quick. And they say, it's okay, we'll circumambulate Tulsi. No problem. There'll be no brahmanas left. No, we have to understand, Lord Brahma is a Prajapati, he's the head of the Prajapati. He's the topmost man and the self-born, Swayambhu Brahma, born directly from the Lord. And he has to show example. Example, very important. Yad yad acharati shreshta, tad tad evetarojana. Sayat pramanam kurute, lokas tad anuvartati. Whatever standards are set by the leaders, then the common man will follow. Right? So that example is very, very important. Lord Brahma is showing the example for everyone. It's an important lesson. Just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used Junior Haridas to show example to others, so also Lord Brahma showed the example at the very beginning, in the beginning of the creation. Because this tendency is always there. And we have to be so careful. Do you understand the importance? If you are the leader, the big position, you have to show the right example. The standard must be there. You cannot just say, oh, it's okay. Circumambulate Tulsi. That can be there in the beginning. The common man, the new devotee coming. All right? But it doesn't go on. Not every day. Not every day you can do sins and just come and circumambulate. Then you're committing sin on the strength of chanting. That's an offense. So when people are instructed and people know better and they still do sins, then it's very bad. They have to show the example.
But then Maharaj, you say that this life is not your own. This is Krishna provided this life. So have we got right to take our own life?
Have you got the right to take your own life? Well, you have to consider everything. Time, the place, circumstances. Right? Lord Chaitanya took, and he used Junior Haridas to set an example. Srila Prabhupada did not enforce like that on his sannyasis. There were examples that Srila Prabhupada had initiated people as sannyasis and they were not able to keep up the vows. So Srila Prabhupada didn't tell them, oh, you have to give up your life. But he told them, accept a position where you're comfortable. He said, come back and, be a householder and live in family life and be comfortable as a devotee. Be in a position where you can properly follow. But if you're taking on a position of renunciation but not following, then it's not good. It's a bad example. So you have to give up that position and come down, take a lower position. Which is difficult, of course. It's not easy for people to do. There was one case, one devotee, and there was a person called Vishnu Janaswami. So Vishnu Janaswami, he was a very nice sannyasi, and he was leading the Radha Damodar party, and somehow something happened. We don't know exactly what happened, but he'd come to Mayapur and he asked Prabhupada about what you're supposed to do if you don't keep the vows of sannyasi, and Prabhupada says something like, oh, Junior Haridas, he gave up his body. And so Vishnujan disappeared. And then we never heard what happened. We never saw him again, ever. And people say he went to Trivedi and he drowned in Trivedi. He gave up his body in Trivedi. But Prabhupada never asked anybody to do that. He never, rather he would tell them, come back, stay in Krishna consciousness, and come back and just live, you know, as an ordinary devotee, instead of as a sannyasi, just live as a grihastha or something. So some sannyasis, people were sannyasis, they gave up sannyas and they came back. But Prabhupada encouraged them to stay in Krishna consciousness, not to give up Krishna consciousness. So he didn't tell them, give up your life. But he said, come back and just be a normal devotee, stay in Krishna consciousness. So that, of course, difficult. They say for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. So you could say it's worse than suicide, to be dishonored because you give up your position as a renounced and you come back in another position. So it's worse than death. But some people have done it. Prabhupada liked them to stay in Krishna consciousness. Don't go away. Stay. Right? So we have some people like that today in our movement. They were sannyasis for some time, they gave it up. They did some service. They did do some service for Krishna as a sannyasi. So like that, it's an opportunity to do service. They were not able to maintain it, but for some time at least they did some service. So that is the point. And we should appreciate that they did a lot of service as a sannyasi. They took a risk. It's a risk. But they did it for Prabhupada. They did some service for Prabhupada's mission. Prabhupada needed these men, although they were young and inexperienced, but Prabhupada was engaging them in Krishna's service. So it was important. Understand? Yes, Manaji?
Very grateful for the class here. Like you rightly said, in the outside world, apart from the devotees group, everybody is trying to justify all this conservatism activities like eating and different kind of things, right? So when we try to deal with such people, because we have to, how to help them to understand that this is sin, like, you know, how to help them to understand really the concept of sin.
Yes. Yeah, people have different ideas what is sinful and what's not. I was saying about marijuana, right? Nowadays they say it's not sinful because it's legal everywhere. Just like alcohol, nobody thinks alcohol is sinful, drinking a glass or drinking a cup of tea. Could you imagine telling people this is sinful, you know? Everywhere people are drinking tea and coffee. And so, sin, what is sin and what is not sin? it's a very relative issue. You know, if you're a member of the Mormon church, in the Mormon church, no tea and no coffee. The Mormon man said to me, he said, I know we're a real religion. We don't drink tea. You know, they eat everything, but they don't drink tea, so they think it's a real religion. So that was his thinking. So every different standards are there, different faith, they have all different standards. So what is the standard? Well, I said, Satyam, Socham, Dayatapa. You know, these 4 pillars are there. How to understand these things is certainly going to be different. What is cleanliness? Some people cleanliness, wash my hands. That's clean, you know. They never bathe, you know, but wash the hands. So different standards will be there everywhere, different things. So mercy, it's very hard for us to make it clear to people, but we have our own standards in the Vedic culture, you know, what is sin, what is not. So our standard of sin, and what is according to Krishna's principle, Krishna's standards, you know, according to Bhagavad Gita, these things. In the Bhagavad Gita, for example, tells about food in the modes, food in goodness, passion, ignorance. So we highlight goodness more than passion and ignorance. So sinful activities, a lot of passion and ignorance. We focus more on goodness. So like that, we try to convince people what should be the proper standard of behavior. It's difficult. Okay.
Ayush Maharaj, hello. Thank you for a wonderful gospel, Maharaj. Maharaj, normally when we took initiation, we take a vow like we have to follow for regulated principle and we have to chant at least 16 rounds. But Maharaj, like you mentioned, it is sex. So sometimes myself, I think, okay, today I am not going to do, or today I am not going to involve, like you say. When we turn on our mobile phone, that means we are taking a very risk in every step. So sometimes I feel that like today I am not going to do, not going to involve all these stupid things. But also, Maharaj, I'm not able to control myself sometimes, like watching the videos, YouTube, all these, sometimes. Then you also mentioned Brahma even can reign after his daughter. So if we compare with the Brahma, we are very Maharaj, for example. So is there any way to come out from this state?
How to come out from this state?
Yes.
Well, like you said, you know, you don't want to watch videos and stuff. You know, these watching videos and too many these things will definitely influence your consciousness. So if you can avoid these things, it's better for us. Better to stay away from the Bollywood movies or the Tamil movies or whatever movies you're watching, you know. And you want to focus more on Vyasadeva and Bhagavatam, you know, these things. We have to control the mind. It's training the mind. So yes, how to come... In the beginning, it's difficult. Difficult because you have the habit. You've developed the bad habits. That's the problem. You've got the bad habits. and you want to try to give up the bad. You become addicted to these things. We become addicted to mobile phones, and it starts playing video games, and then it gets to the movies, and there's so many things to deviate us from Krishna consciousness. It's a struggle. But if you've had a good start, if you've been brought up in the beginning, to understand the danger, then it's a lot easier. If you have the habit to do these things, then it's difficult to give up because you get attached to it. You have to be determined that this is not right. These things I'm doing are wrong. I have to give them up. And how to give them up? You have to become more absorbed in Krishna. You're not focused enough in your devotional service. You have to do more chanting. So we encourage people, study the Bhakti Shastri course. Everybody should do Bhakti Shastri. Go online, you can take the course. Very important, study the books with the devotees. Then after Bhakti Shastri, you can do Bhakti Vaibhav. I'm teaching Bhakti Vaibhav this morning. I have to leave because at 9:30 I have a class to people. I'm teaching a group of people studying Bhakti Vaibhav. So you study, it takes your time. It's a lot of work. That's what you need. You need to keep yourself busy so you have no time for Maya, right? No time for all the nonsense. When you're busy memorizing slokas, writing essays, attending different classes, all of these things, keep yourself always busy in Krishna consciousness, and you'll be safe. If Keshava Maharaj was saying, I have no time for all these things. I'm so busy. It's so busy. Is it traveling everywhere, preaching, giving lectures? And he said, okay, yeah, some pleasure there, but I don't have time. I'm so busy for Krishna's service. So that's what you want. Keep yourself busy in Krishna consciousness. Okay, I have to stop. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.